Hi, I'm Phil Constantine. On this episode of Travels with Phil, we're going to Daniel Boone's historic home in Missouri and his 2 burial sites. But let's start off with an animated educational cartoon.
Come listen to my story and listen to it well. I'll tell you of a great man who served his country well. His name was Daniel Boone and he wore a coonskin hat, and his clothes were made of buckskin. Now what do you think of that? When the Revolutionary War was over, Dan kept heading west until he made his final home in Missouri.
Yes, indeed. This program is mainly about what happened to Daniel Boone after he got to Missouri. And this is where his historic home site is located, not too far from St. Louis. And this is what you see as you drive up to the structure and the park itself. Travels with Phil continues in Defiance, or not too far from Defiance, Missouri. This beautiful spot out here is the Daniel Boone Home National Heritage Site. And this was Daniel Boone's last home. I didn't remember that he made it to Missouri. Daniel Boone lived in this part of Missouri from 1799 to 1820. Now, while this was officially his son Nathan's home, he spent most of his time here. And he eventually died in this house on September 26, 1820. And then eventually, passing along, came to another family, and then they donated it to preserve the heritage. What they've done out here is they brought in a bunch of old buildings that you can see in various spots out here and transported them. The green where you see the man out there, or person at least, mowing is a little village, and they've got lots of different buildings out there where you can see what a typical village of the area would look like. In fact, this is this is definitely a map of what the village was, what it looked like. That's his home right there, the one I'm standing in front of. So these are all the other places out here. But this was the only home that was here at the time. Again, they just recreated a little village out here to give people an opportunity to see what things might have looked like during that era. There you go. That gives you a better idea what the whole spot looks like. But a very pretty site. Not too far from Defiance, Missouri. And again, Daniel Boone's home and place of his death. So let's look around a little bit on the inside here. Some of the scenes you can see here, different parts of the house. Lots of wood here. Rough-hewn oak, which is why it's lasted. You can see the rafter beams here. Now, this is the drawing room, perhaps the nicest looking one of the entire house itself. And this is the actual bedroom where Daniel Boone died in 1820. You can see other parts of the home here, the dining room, lots of fireplaces all over the house. And this is a portrait of Daniel Boone based on the official national portrait, which is hung in the National Portrait Gallery. Now, the other facilities they have out there at the park are all kinds of ways to demonstrate what it would be like to live back in those days. So one of the places they have there is a blacksmith shop where they actually do some blacksmithery on the scene. This is a shave horse where they demonstrate how you can work wood. And basically, they had to build it themselves. Lots of the things they had. Well, there was a controversy. Travels with Phil continues from Missouri. This is the burial site for Daniel Boone. It's 20-30 miles, seems like, from where he lived. Now, there might have been a more direct route, perhaps, back in those days, but it does seem a long way. This also says of his wife, Rebecca. Very, very small cemetery. A couple of 1812 veterans out here. You can see some of the old tombstones. As a matter of fact, there's 1850s, 1836. This one over here, you can't really read the stone. At least I can't read it easily. But there's an interesting marker here on top of it. This is the General Society of the War of 1812. It was an 1812 veteran and pretty well nondescript. They're worn off headstones. A couple other headstones over here that are completely missing. Even though Daniel Boone moved away from Kentucky and pretty well broke ties with it, they never forgot about him. In 1845, a plan was devised to get him back. And this is what happened. The new capital had a cemetery being built, and they thought that having Daniel and Rebecca there would make it more prestigious. So they recovered the bones from his grave. Well, some of the folks in Missouri say they didn't really get the right bones, or not all the right bones, or some of the right bones. So some folks say he's partly buried in Missouri. Some folks say he's buried in Kentucky, but the folks in Missouri say his heart is still there, even though most of him is now overlooking the Capitol in Kentucky. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.